guys, Bridget here. In this video I want to share with you a presentation on atomic design which I recently recorded on my upcoming Figma course, and I wanted to share with you this nugget of wisdom because atomic design is a principle and a frame of mind that is going to help you elevate your design systems to a next level. And generally speaking, work in an organized way when it comes to layers, components, variants, and things of that nature. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into it, and we're going to talk about the theory first, and then we're going to jump on Figma and see and discuss some practical applications of this theory. In this video, we're going to talk about a very important mindset and approach to design systems, and that is the atomic design principles. Now, this is a revolutionary model for design systems and design thinking in general. Atomic design was coined by Brad Frost, and it's like breaking down your UIs into the tiniest Lego pieces and then building them back up into solid structures. Now, let's dive in and see what makes this approach so cool and so useful overall. Now, it starts with design tokens. Now, these are the smallest components and they describe the properties of an atom, which is going to be a concept that we're going to discuss in just a moment. They refer to repetitive design elements that define the style of an entire application, such as colors, spacing, typography, icons, and so on and so forth. In their implementation, they must always be bound to at least one atom, which is going to be the premise for this entire structure, as they do not fulfill a UI function on their own. Now, if you go one layer above, you're going to find atoms. And imagine atoms as the Lego bricks of design. They are the smallest indivisible elements like buttons, input fields, form fields, and many more. They are essentially simple, reusable, and form the foundation of your design system. Now, one layer above atoms, we're going to find molecules. And now picture molecules as sets of these atoms working harmoniously together. They're just like a combo of a button and an input field forming a search bar, for example. They're a bit more complex, but still highly reusable. So molecules add functionality and meaning to your design. Now, one layer above, we're going to find organisms. Now, moving up this ladder that we are exploring, we're going to find these elements that are larger design components, and they're formed by combining molecules together. So think of them as complete sections of your interface, like a navigation bar or a product card. Organisms are where things start to get really interesting, as you're going to have these components which are still going to be reusable, but they're more specific to elements which you are going to encounter throughout the app more and more often. Now, at the very top, we're going to find the templates and pages. And these are almost like blueprints that you have to keep in mind. And these are going to help you establish the layout and the structure, guiding how organisms fit together. And essentially, pages are where it all comes to life. Complete web pages or app screens crafted from the smaller building blocks. And by this point, you might ask yourself, okay, but why bothering with all of this atom splitting and molecule making? And here's where the magic is really. Atom design bring order to chaos. So by breaking down your design into these smaller components, you gain the following superpowers. First of all, you have a level of consistency which you can't really have if you don't approach design systems in this way. Since you're reusing atoms and molecules, your design stay consistent across the boards. There's no mismatch button or wonky layouts. On top of that, you also have a high degree of flexibility. So do you need to tweak something? That's not a problem. Atom design lets you make changes easily without breaking the whole system. And on top of that, you're going to have a level of consistency whenever you make these changes in a flexible way, which is going to essentially create a solid structure for any project that you're working with, really. Top of that, you have the scalability factor. So as your project grows, Atom Design scales with you. It's like having a design infrastructure that can essentially handle anything that you throw at it. And at the very last, but definitely not least, there is the collaboration aspect to it, since designers and the developers can speak the same language. Designers are going to obviously focus on crafting the design system, while developers bring it to life, which, as you know, it's a match made in design heaven. Now, in future videos, we're going to see examples of atomic design applied to a project in Figma. And again, this is going to serve you as a mental model. It's not a model which you have to adhere in each and every single pixel that you're crafting, but it's a mental model that you want to keep in mind whenever you're creating and structuring a design system or even a loose design project for a quick design that you might be doing in Figma. And even though you don't plan in scaling it, by applying these mental models, you can create a structure which is going to work for the long term regardless. So let's go through a practical example by analyzing this design system which has been created by Meng To, and you can find it on the Figma community, which is Design Code UI. And essentially, if we go through it, you can start seeing how these principles that we just learned about are applied in pretty much any serious design system and design project, really. So you can already start seeing the elements such as the atoms. You can see over here all of the buttons and how you can start mixing these into elements which go towards molecules, more complex organisms in general. So at the end of the day, each and every design is composed of very simple items which go all the way down to the design tokens, which are going to be elements such as the color. So for example, the blue, let's say that it's one of the primary blues. We're going to have it as the background, and then we can see the typography elements, which are other design tokens. And as we increase the complexity and the amount of elements, we can start building up the atoms and then all the way to molecules and complex organisms, which are going to be repeated throughout the projects. And then you can go ahead and think about components, which are going to be footer elements, header elements, and the other repeating items which you're going to find throughout the project. So whenever you're structuring the basics of a design system, such as the initial stages where you're figuring out the colors and all of their variations, start already thinking about where is this element going to be in the hierarchy of a atom principle approach. So thinking about these elements ahead, and it's going to take time. It's not. I realize that especially as you're first starting out, not everything is going to be super straightforward, but you're going to learn with time. But as long as you make a effort into thinking about these items and trying to improve each and every time your design system approach, you're eventually going to master it. And all of this is going to become second nature to you, so that you're going to remove the complexity which might appear at the beginning out of the way, and you're going to master it. Again, it's design is a field that you have to take one day at a time. The learning is going to compound, and I realize, especially as I look back into my over a decade of a career, principles that used to be overwhelming when I was first starting out now are easy, and they are second nature. So take it one step at a time and make this focused approach into thinking, am I creating a design token? How can I structure this in a way that works within the atoms and the molecules and all the other elements of an atomic design? So take a moment after this video, review what you have learned, and feel free to look at other Figma files or even the current file that you're working on, and analyze the design system and see the patterns which emerge as you go.